Hey guys, how's it going? It's Alex of Katie Star Astrology. Welcome back to my channel. This is my forecast for the week of December 2nd, 2019. We're going to dive into Jupiter changing signs, which is a big deal. We're also going to talk for the first time in depth about the Pluto-Saturn conjunction of 2020. So this is going to be a bit longer than normal, but we have a lot to cover, a lot of really interesting stuff. And I just wanted to mention, you may have noticed when you clicked on this video that I had music again in the beginning of my video. Someone commented in my last video, you need music for your intro. Very true. So if you liked the galactic, beautiful tones that you heard at the beginning of this video, that came from one of my favorite tracks by my favorite artist, Ascendant, and I will put the link to the track as well as the album where you can find it in the description box. All right, so let's jump right into it and pull up the chart. So today is December 3rd, but yesterday on December 2nd, we had a very important celestial event. We had Jupiter leave its home sign of Sagittarius, where honestly it would much rather be, and enter the sign of Capricorn. And this is a big deal because Jupiter is one of what we call the outer planets. There's 5 of these: Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. And these 5 outer planets have, you could say, the largest influence on the major cycles that are moving through our reality. So when an astrologer looks at your chart during a transit reading, more than likely they would be focusing for the most part on these 5 planetary bodies. So Jupiter changing signs is considered a pretty big astrological event. Jupiter had been in the sign of Sagittarius since November of 2018. So this is a little over a year, and now we are switching into a completely different vibe. So what does this mean and how does this influence us? Well, when Jupiter was in its home sign of Sagittarius, there was a lot more flexibility and a lot more of a thirst for adventure, because that's what Sagittarius is all about, right? It's about expanding our perception through travel and foreign experiences, novel experiences, etc. Not so much in Capricorn. Capricorn isn't so much about spontaneity and fun, right? That's not really what Capricorn is known for. In fact, one of the shadows of Capricorn is that they can forget to have fun, right? So that's definitely one thing that we want to remind ourselves of while Jupiter is transiting Capricorn during 2020. Jupiter will be transiting Capricorn until December of 2020, so we have this whole year ahead of us of this energy. And Jupiter in Capricorn is really where we start to reel in these themes of responsibility, applying ourselves, accountability, accomplishment. There's a sense of refinement about Capricorn. Capricorn really does call for and appreciate prestige and mastery over one's chosen profession, career, or craft. So this is where we really start to feel a shift now to come into a place that's more professional, more dialed in, and really looking at the ways that we structure our physical reality. That's what Capricorn rules, the physical reality. So it's having a good paying job, having money in the bank, having a roof over our head, being a full functioning adult, and doing what we do well, right? Capricorn has no time for incompetence. It's really concerned with quality and people that know what they're doing. So Capricorn energy is about being in a position where it's that, it's that CEO energy. It's, I have control of this situation. I have control of my world. I don't need anyone's help. I'm making things happen on my own. So while this may seem a bit drab in comparison to Sagittarius, Jupiter is still a benefic. He's still a nice guy in the sky. And this archetype, again, is associated with growth and abundance. So this can be the year where people finally see these doors fly open when we're looking at success. This can also be the year where you receive some kind of recognition for all of the hard work you've been putting in, which brings me to the next important point when we're looking at Jupiter's transit through Capricorn, which is that Jupiter is going to be transiting through the same track, the same degrees that Saturn and Pluto were transiting for all of 2019. And not only for 2019, because Jupiter will be transiting through the same degrees that Saturn has been in since the beginning of 2018, and Jupiter is now starting to track where Pluto has been since the beginning of 2008. So this is very important because Saturn and Pluto have been arguably the most powerful influences on many of us for the last year. Saturn and Pluto have both been in Capricorn. Saturn is concerned with hard work, dedication, facing harsh truths, facing the reality of situations. Anywhere that Saturn has been transiting your chart is somewhere where you have been putting in long hours and likely been putting a lot of your attention. It's also probably where you've experienced a lot of limitation, a lot of frustration coming up against blockages, maybe in some ways feeling like the universe was against you and having to really work hard to push past any self-doubt or self-limiting beliefs, really having to push forward and barrel past that Saturn energy that has had a lot of us like an iron fist for all of last year because it's been very strong in its home sign of Capricorn. And it's been even more powerful because it's been traveling along with Pluto, also in Capricorn. Pluto is the teacher of transformation. Pluto often takes away and replaces with something else. So this can be where you have experienced loss or fear. Pluto is karmic retribution. So this could have even been death for some people. But in any case, wherever Pluto has been transiting your chart is where there has been a lot of change, a lot of emotional change, a lot of karmic situations. For some people, a lot of chaos. So Saturn and Pluto together over the last year have been getting closer and closer and closer, more and more powerful. And this is really why 2019 for a lot of people was a difficult year. It was a year where it may have felt like a lot of us had to work extremely hard to get where we wanted to go. Now, coming to the present day, Jupiter, although it is in Capricorn, is a very different energy. Jupiter is opportunity and growth. It blows doors open while Saturn shuts them and forces you to level up in order to open them. So with Jupiter transiting the same points in the sky that Saturn and Pluto have been, this is the year where we really start to see things move ahead. So let's talk about this eclipse in the beginning of January. Someone commented in my last video, what's so special about 2020? Why is everybody talking about 2020? And I have been delaying bringing up this topic because we are going to be talking about it so much, pretty much from here on out, honestly. But we're here and let's dive into it. So pulling up the chart, this is the chart for January 10th, 2020, the lunar eclipse, okay? And look at all of that Capricorn. We have the South Node, Jupiter, the Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Pluto all on the side of Capricorn. And you can see that Pluto and Saturn are exactly conjunct at 22. So let's start there. So we just talked about Pluto and Saturn and how they've been essentially dragging our attention to some point of focus in our life. And this is where it becomes, again, very important to know your chart. This is where it could be really good to get a reading, because if this has been happening in your 7th house, this could be about a relationship. If this is in your 10th, this whole last year could have been very much about career, getting that off the ground. Having Pluto and Saturn anywhere in your chart has probably made it extremely hard to focus on anything else, because they're both in Capricorn. They're like two thugs when they're together in that sign. It's really intense. And on this eclipse, they are finally going to be touching at 22 degrees. So this is the big Saturn-Pluto conjunction. This has not happened in the sign of Capricorn since 1518. 1518. So this is the closing, in many ways, of that cycle. And when these cycles happen in astrology, they often bring up themes from the past. So astrologers then look back to 1518 to look at what was happening. And one thing we notice is that this was the year that Martin Luther nailed his 95 Thesis to the door of the church in Germany, which essentially started, or was the catalyst for, a religious revolution. Martin Luther was a monk scholar who did a very controversial thing at the time, basically put together a thesis of observations and essentially complaints about how the Catholic Church was corrupt and how it was unfairly delegating its power over the people. I have this quote here from his thesis that I'm going to paraphrase for brevity's sake. He says in his thesis, "Why does not the Pope, whose wealth today is greater than the wealth of the richest common man, build the Basilica of St. Peter with his own money rather than with the money of the poor believers?" So basically Martin Luther is saying, so if the Pope is so rich, why is he taking money from the poor to build his cathedrals? Why doesn't he do it himself? So this was a really, Martin Luther was considered a heretic for opening up this subject, nailing it to the door of the church in Wittenberg, and essentially starting the religious Reformation. So this Saturn-Pluto conjunction in 1518 was a time when the people started to rebel and revolutionize against those in power. At that time, the Catholic Church. But if we bring it to present day and we look at this chart, we can see that we also have Uranus going direct during this eclipse portal. Uranus is the planet associated with unexpected events, change, revolution, the future. So you can see that when we have Pluto and Saturn conjunct in Capricorn for the first time since 1518, Uranus going direct, and then look at what else we have going on. We have Mercury and the Sun conjunct at 20. So there's 3 conjunctions happening in this chart. Pluto and Saturn, Mercury and the Sun, Jupiter and the South Node. So Mercury and the Sun at 20, Mercury is about communication. The Sun tends to illuminate or shine a light on things. So this could be about something being communicated by the government or authority figures. And then we have Jupiter conjunct the South Node. Jupiter is like a magnifying glass. It makes anything bigger, larger than life, extreme, overdoing it. When it's in Capricorn, this can be government overdoing it, over-governing, overdoing their job or overstepping their boundary. And then we look at the moon in Cancer in opposition to all of that. If this was a chessboard and you were the moon, how would you feel right now? Probably insecure, especially if you're a Cancer. Probably a little bit outnumbered. So when you look at this chart, and we're going to be talking about this a lot more, I'm just bringing it up this video. We're going to kind of like bring this stuff in slow. You know, we've got Jupiter in Capricorn as of this week. It's a big deal, not only because it shifts the energy from Sag, but also because Jupiter entering Capricorn is the beginning of this Capricorn lineup. Now we've got the 3 outer planets that are going to be involved in that lunar eclipse in their places. And now it's just about them getting closer and closer together. So we're going to start to feel this increase of energy coming in towards this eclipse. And even though this Capricorn energy is a bit daunting when we look at it, I do think that for many, many, many people, this Jupiter Capricorn transit over the next year is really going to come as a complete relief, because it has been exhausting with Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn for many, many of us. And it kind of feels, having Jupiter going to Capricorn kind of feels like when I've talked to these amazing women who have done these long, long labors giving birth to their children, and they tell me like halfway through I just wanted to take a nap, but I had to keep pushing and I had to keep going. That's what it can kind of feel like with Jupiter going into Capricorn. And I feel like the collective is a little bit weary right now, but this Jupiter energy is going to help. It's almost like we're going to get a second wind and a renewed positive outlook towards these situations that have been requiring so much energy from a lot of people. And because Jupiter is associated with luck and opportunity, this is where some doors are really going to open. This is where hard work is going to pay off for some people. And this is where I think a lot of new inspiration is going to come from. Jupiter is very magical, even when it's in Capricorn. So many people are really going to step it up over the next couple months. And on and around January 10th, a lot of people are going to be making big shifts, major moves, and a lot is going to be coming to a climax, as you can clearly see in the chart. How it's going to play out on the stage of the world, politically, etc., that remains to be seen. We can definitely make some predictions from looking at the past, but on the day-to-day, on the microcosmic in our own charts, you can see that there is going to be an incredible amount of energy gathered in an area of life that really, really matters to you. And it could be a really great time to get a reading to look at what house that's happening in for you. What planets is it aspecting? How is this all going to kind of play out? So go ahead and reach out to me if you'd like to do that. I will put my website right here. And yeah, hope you guys are having a good one. And if you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and a share. I really appreciate it. We will be talking a lot about this eclipse coming up. So more to share on that in the coming videos. All right, you guys, talk to you soon. Have a great week.